welcome back to another video. Today we are finally going to get into the topic of authentication. So for this project, what I want to do is I want to make it so we can actually use Google's login. So you log in with your Gmail account, and that will actually just log us in. That same Gmail account will log you into our Street Tracker project. So I'm actually going to do a whole video on how to do this. I was looking around before I even started this on how to get this running, and I didn't really find very good docs out there. I saw some docs for the front end, but when I tried to use the back end, I didn't want to use Passport because there was part of me I did not want to. I wanted to understand a little bit more under the hood of what's going on, and there was no documentation. So I think I might actually make a video dedicated to that subject. But we'll walk through it together here in a little bit more of an unpolished state. And by the end of this video, what we want to have is we're going to add in a little thing that says sign in to Google. We'll sign in. That is going to hit our backend. In fact, I actually have eraser. I think I have a doc that I actually had written on this. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to be at our client. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sign in. After we sign in successfully, it's going to send back some credentials with it's a JSON web token and some credentials to our client. Now our client is then we'll save that in state. We can, but for us, for our sake, for this video, we're not going to save it in state at all. What we're going to do is we're going to send that credentialed request up to our server. And then what we'll want to do is we're going to decode these credentials to get the username. So what's stopping someone from just changing their username? Well, the JSON web token, we are going to verify it. And the way you verify it is we are going to get the public keys from Google. We're going to query for their public keys. They're going to return them to us. And then we are going to actually verify that the credentials that we have were created from Google. So Google will sign the credentials with their private key, and we'll be able to verify that they signed it with their private key using their public credentials. So if we get a failure, we'll return a 403, and if we get a pass, we'll pass them along with the route, and we'll send back a response to the client. So let's just jump right into it. I've got a couple little libraries up and running, or a couple little pages that have what we're going to use. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to let's close our project down. Let's go into our web project and let's npm install the React OAuth Google. You will also need to, these credentials all end up changing as we do secret management and stuff like that. But essentially, I'll make another video about how to actually do this. But essentially, what we have set up is we have this client ID that we're going to be using in this video. We've got our origins and our redirect URLs, and we've set all that up. And for now, let's just go ahead and we are going to do a very simple, we're going to do this guy right here. So we're going to do a OAuth provider. So let's go into our app. We're just going to make this really simple. So we're going to, at the top of our container, we are going to take this guy, import him. We are going to take our client ID, which was this guy. If I can copy it correctly. Here's our client ID. We'll just do something like this, client ID that's going to come out, client ID. And then looking at the docs, we're just going to take this, this Google login component, and here we go. So we're going to paste this, and we are going to also need to Docker, we're going to need to build everything. So we'll do a build. And so, yeah, at first right now, what we're expecting is we want to see that login, and then we're going to sign in. We'll see what that looks like. And then once that's done, we're going to get these credentials back, and we'll see what that looks like in a second. All right, build's done. Let's Docker up. And once this loads, we should be able to see our new Google sign in on top. Now we're going to get log out. We are going to properly use this authentication code when we finish this video. In our next few, we're going to be integrating this into everywhere, all of our routes. But for now, what's this little semicolon doing? Go away. Okay, so we're going to sign in as Clinton builds at Gmail. So I sign in, and we're still showing this. That's fine, because we could be saving this in state. We're not currently, but that's fine. So we have this client ID, and that's the one that we got from our API, but we also have this credential. And so that is actually what we're going to be sending to our API. So let's come into our API, and let's think of which route do we want to actually use this, do we want to send? And what I'm thinking, at least for a very temporary thing, what we'll do is we'll come in and let's just hit our task route right here. And we're going to use a middleware. So we're going to call this verify token. And this is also going to have a next function. And we are going to put that right here. So we have this verify token, and essentially, I mean, this thing is, yeah, well, it's already doing that for us. Our bearer token is this guy. This is actually what we're going to be doing. We're going to be taking this authorization header out, and we are going to be, it's going to be in the route, it's going to be like in this type of thing, bearer access token, right? Or really this is going to be credentials. This is going to be a JWT credentials. And essentially we are going to strip this out, and that's what this is doing here. So we're not going to store this on that. Let's call this credentials for now. And so we're going to send a 403 back if there are, if there's no credentials, we're going to send a 403 back. And if there are, so we'll just log out our credentials for now. And so we can actually see this. What we're going to do too here is we are going to fetch, we're just going to fetch localhost, HTTP, task. This is our 3000. Oh no, we're hitting our, let's just verify how we do this again. Yeah, we're just going to be copying this guy out. We're just going to copy our task out. And essentially, so let's take that from there. And we're going to just fetch, and we're going to see a 403 come back. And there we go. None of our routes are actually working anymore. And that's fine. So We have this here. What we're going to want to do is actually want to put we want to put some headers in here. And we are going to do authorization bearer, and then we are just going to get the credential off of this. And now we're going to send this. And now if we refresh, we should see, let's see if we're compiling and we are hitting our task. Our task is hitting our index. Let's and just do a quick test to see if this is actually getting ran right now. Okay, that's restarting. Okay, so we see our test here, and let's actually see what header's coming through. So I see this authorization. Perhaps we need capital. We just need some capitalization. Let's wait until this reload fetch. Interesting. Okay, let's see what is getting logged out here. So undefined. Let's just do one of these numbers. Await, headers, authorization. Maybe we need this to be lowercase. Oh, you know what? Is this credentials or credential? No, it looks correct. So we still keep getting this undefined here. Perhaps we are not. So we have requests and we have these headers. Maybe this is just wrong and we should not be getting this like this. Let's actually just inspect the entire request headers object. Maybe that can be a little bit more, can understand. Okay, so we see here, are we, so we're on our get task. Let's, for now, comment this out so we only have our one route. And that way we're making sure, oh, well, yeah, of course. So I don't think we've actually been, so here's our credential and undefined. Actually, let's just do this as well. Tasks, we'll do response, and then we are gonna log out, console log our response. Okay, let's refresh, sign in. Our response is coming back. Our body, let's do JSON. Okay. How did we use this in the past? We were response.json, then data. So let's just do a const data equals wait JSON, and we will pass this. Now it looks like we're responding with this whole mumbo jumbo. We are sending the header here, so that's interesting. If we come to here and we authorization bear, okay, let's log one more time. Credential, client ID. Is this even coming over now is my question. Perhaps we need to uppercase that. Oh, we're not hitting our API. That's our problem. Whoops. So here we go. Okay, perfect. We weren't hitting the right port. We were hitting 3000 and our API is on 8000. So here's our tasks. Now, what we want is we also are going to want, so we have this credential, but what we want is we want to get the email. We want to get the email itself. So how do we get the email out of this credentials item? So we are going to go into our API and we are going to npm install JSON web token and types JSON web token. I believe those are the package names. Okay. So those are there. And we also are going to want to get, there's another package that I'm going to look in my history here, and that's this JWK2prem. And we're gonna actually grab a couple things from here, but let's also go ahead and install this and types for that. And once those are installed, what we're going to do is we're going to come back, Docker compose build, and then we're going to build up. So we're going to look here in this response. I actually had to do some digging around for this to really understand, and we'll go into, like I said, I'm going to make a video that's really dedicated on what is going on here. But at a gist, this is going to be our verify. This is going to be our verify function essentially. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have this is called the token, or we can call it the credential. We're going to decode this, and we're also going to get the public keys from Google. If we can't find either of those, well, then we'll throw. But what we're also going to do with these keys, they're going to pass back multiple. So the key ID, there's a specific key ID that we're going to look at in this token, and we're going to find the key that matches that key ID. Once we have that key, we're going to actually verify it, but we need this other library, and if you try to not use it, it's going to get some non-symmetrical permission error, and so this is going to change the format of the key, and then it's going to allow us to verify. So this is done. Let's just Docker compose up, and we are going to take a couple of these. Actually, you know what? This is saying to use Axios. I would really prefer not to use Axios if we can. So let's just do a search for, let's open up a new chat. And let's say, how to fetch from on node. How to fetch on node. I guess a lot of things are using another library. All right, I guess if it's saying use another library, we'll use another library. Let's just go ahead and install Axios. I mean, I've used Axios a bunch. I've been trying to not use as many libraries. Wondering if we need to do a types Axios as well. Might as well try before we build. Okay, let's do a build. So that's our last build. And let's go back here. And we will come right back to where we were before. Okay, so we are going to come back in here. We are going to take all three of these guys. And remember, we're going to move all this stuff around. So let's import Axios from Axios, import, and import JWK to, there we go. So this is building still, and we can actually take this as well. And we'll work through this. We won't copy the entire thing at one go at least. So let's Docker compose up, and we'll start using these in a second. Hopefully this doesn't complain about unused variables. So in our verify, we'll bring these guys down just so we can reference this. This is the first step, and this is where really, hopefully, if you've not used these JWTs before, this hopefully should be a lot more, you should be able to get some more understanding here. So here's our credentials, and we're going to do our credentials here. And what we're going to do is we're going to log out our unverified token. So we can actually see what is in there and why that's going to be relevant for us being able to authenticate. So all we're going to do is refresh, we log in, we're passing through. And here's we have these three sections of a JWT. So the first one is the header, then we've got this payload, and then we have this signature. So the payload is, and we'll have to talk about, honestly, some of these I'm not really super sure. I think this is how the JWT was actually created. It's some information about that. This is the hashing algorithm. This is the payload that we're actually trying to send. And then this is the signature. So this is after you pass this entire thing in using this, using these keys. This is the actual hash that this needs to create. So we can actually look through here, and we'll see, first we have this email, and that's what we're just going to store for us. I think there are some other permanent things. I think this JTI, if I remember correctly, was a unique, or maybe it's this sub, but the email is what we want. We know we can trust this email. And yeah, I guess it's possible that this email could change. Maybe people could actually log in with, yeah, but we're gonna trust the email for now. But what we want to do is, what can we imagine if somebody came in and, I don't know how they would do this, but somehow they, well, actually what they could do is in the front end, if you can imagine, this credential they could come in and modify the credential that they're sending up to our API, and in that payload, they could change this email to anything. And if we're just verifying that the user is this person, and then they actually send up a credential that is false or forged or whatever you want to call it, they'd be able to log in as this person. So we need to make sure that they are who they say they are. And the way they're going to do that, we are trusting Google that Google has actually created this credential. And how can we trust that Google actually did it? Well, we are going to ask Google, and we are going to say, hey Google, what keys, do you have a key that I could use to verify this credential? And if it comes back as signed, then we know that we can actually trust it. So what we're going to do is we'll come back in here, and we've got this unverified token now. We want to get the keys from Google. And so let's look at these. Put this as async. And let's actually also log out our keys from Google. So let's log in. Okay, so we see these multiple keys here. There's 2 keys. So we have this RS-256, another one as well. Now, this key ID, so they have 2 keys, and this key ID, we need to find, so they have two public keys, and we can identify both of them using this key ID. Now remember, in this our own header, Google told us that it used the key ID of this 85E5. So what we want to do is we want to find that key file and their public keys, and that's going to be the public key that we're going to use to verify our token. So, and that's what this next function is doing here. We're going to, so unverified token, I suppose we could do a fourth. I don't want to throw an error here. That just seems really bad, I suppose we could say. So this key, I think what we can do is, as part of this, we'll just say there's a key in here and it has a string. Property kid, oh, I'm sorry, it's key ID. So there's going to be a property on here. So this is key ID. We're going to just say that there's a property on there that has a string. If there is nothing, so we're going to respond, and then we're going to return. And we're sending, and we're not going to do it next on either of these, because we've already sent a status. Okay. So if we do have a public key, though, we're going to find that public key. And in fact, I think what we can do is this. We can find our public key like this. So this will be our public key. And if we say, if we have no unverified token is possibly null. All right, so let's change this around. We'll send a 403 if, all right, now we do have a token. It's not null now. I guess we need to return, then it's gonna work for us. Now if we have no public key, we have a public key, and now we're going to turn this. So this is, and you know, we'll actually just, let's verified token. What we'll do is we'll log out this verified token. And what we'll do is we'll do a try. we'll wrap this whole guy in, what does this return back? So we're gonna do let verify token is this JW catch, and we'll log out the error and we'll return, and if we can get the token, we'll go ahead and log it out. I guess this is or string. Okay, so let's go and log let's refresh, let's log in. Okay, so we're actually still passing, and that's because we're not even checking this. So we have this PEM. Okay, so we have verified. What happens if we just took this public key and passed that in? That's where we're going to get some really funny things happening. So public key is not valid key material. But if we change this to something like the N, which doesn't even make sense, I know, but if you remember what was in our key shape, what did our public keys look like? And oh boy, we have to scroll up a lot. We had all these numbers. So I'm just saying, hey, let's just imagine that N was our private key, our public key from Google. So if we pass that in and we log in, we will get, okay, so invalid algorithm, but we can actually also pass this guy in, this 256, and try to log in, and we'll see this asymmetric key when using 256. So yeah, we just don't need to, we need to pass in this JWK to key. PEM. I actually don't know what this even means. Maybe we should look at that. JWK to buffer. I don't even know why we're calling it PEM. Oh, I guess because the name of the actual library is called that. Private encryption method? Who knows? I probably shouldn't be copying pasting, but I guess we're not really copying pasting. We kind of understand. It's just this key itself, getting it into a format they want. I think it's something kind of like one of these, this begin public key or begin credential essentially. And so I think this kind of just does that. In fact, you know what? Let's actually just echo this out or log this out. Let's just see what is actually getting passed before we go and verify this token. So we have this verified token, and if it can't verify, so let's log in one more time, Clinton-Bells. Okay, so this is what it's creating. It's creating begin public key and public key. You know what we can actually do is just to verify that this is actually even working, let's do something else. And let's do a replace, and let's search for this, and we'll replace it with blah, 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 and then that. So now we know that our key is definitely not gonna work. So what we wanna make sure is, okay, so we're getting this forbidden still. It says invalid algorithm now. Okay, so if our key is not, it's kind of interesting. I guess it's possible that, yeah, that's kind of weird. I wonder if somebody passed in a public key that was in that shape that we didn't want. So maybe what we can do is instead of using that public key, maybe we could, oh, maybe we can just take our credentials and just add something to that. And then we should see that we're not changing our key. The key is coming from Google, but our credentials could be coming from our bad actor. So let's go and try to, let's see what our response is here. Okay, so invalid signature, so it's not able to actually, um, and so we are getting that 403. So that's actually really good. Let's unlog this. Let's get rid of all these extra logs here. I think, oh, the other thing we can actually do is on our request user, we can actually put in our, we'll do request user email, and we will put in a verified token. And I think this is the email. String, maybe it's this sub, user sub. Maybe we should, yeah, I kind of wonder, let's see, console log, verified token. We do want to put this on this request. This is going to be a request with a user now, right? So we're going to have this interface request with user, which will be, yeah, it's going to be express, except it's also going to have this user sub, we're going to call it. And that's what we'll do. We'll just call it user sub. Type E. Oh. Interface. Oh, we'll call this type. And we will. Oh, this is going to be a request with user. And then user sub is sometimes present. So string or, okay, so that can be all different types of things. I wonder if we can actually see JWT payload. So sub can be, so it's that or undefined. Is this saying that, this is saying that this can be a function as well, which seems really weird. So we'll just do this as string. We're gonna cast that for now. I mean, we really don't, we have to kind of trust Google that they're not gonna just change their entire implementation, because in the end, we're relying on this credential having what we think. So is not assignable to string. Okay, so we're running now. Let's do one last check. That's coming back now. And if we come in here, we can actually see sub. I wonder if we should just take the email off of here. I wonder if we should just take the email. I guess in theory, in the future, what we'll do is we're actually going to want to query. We'll end up probably trying to query our ID from this user sub out of our users table. So, you know what, we'll think about how we're going to do this for next video. I think we're going to call that for now. I think we made great progress here. We learned how to do authentication using Google. It's now up in our backend, and now in the next few videos, we're going to learn how are we going to store that? How are we going to get all of our tasks, all of our functions to actually start verifying that the user is both present and only grabbing tasks that are associated to that user. In addition to that, we are going to have to update all of our existing tests to have a user of some kind. And yeah, so we've got a lot of different things, but we will have a real app with real sign-in with that. So appreciate you staying with me, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.